How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the Thinking Blue podcast. I am your host, Blake Harris. Now, since this is the first episode I'm doing, let me just give you a quick background of who I am and why I'm doing this podcast. So, I'm 23 years old, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so going to Dodger games my whole life. My earliest memories of going to Dodger games were the teams that had like Sean Green, Adrian Beltre, Paul Duca. So, we're talking like early 2000s, so I've been going to Dodger Stadium for quite some time. I currently cover the Dodgers for TrueBlueLA.com, which is the Dodgers affiliated website of SBNation.com. School-wise, I'm going into my final year at Arizona State, where I attend the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, where I am currently majoring in sports journalism. So pretty much the reason I wanted to start this podcast is because I noticed there aren't a whole lot of Dodger-related ones out there. Yeah, there's some Dodger shows, some Dodger podcasts, but those are kind of like 1 to 2 shows per week, so I kind of wanted to start a Dodger show where there's multiple ones. Now, I don't think I'm going to be doing these daily, especially not right now while I'm home for the summer. Maybe once I go back to Arizona, we can pump these out daily, especially with, the postseason coming up and all that stuff. But I think for right now, the goal is to maybe do 3 to 4 episodes a week. So pretty much I'll just be talking everything Dodgers. I'll be going over game recaps, series recaps, depending on how often I do these. So for example, we're going to be doing a series recap today since, I haven't done a show yet. We're going to be going over like the latest injury news, the latest news just in general with the Dodgers, who's being promoted, who's being demoted, the latest trade rumors. We got about a week, actually about 9 days until the trade deadline, so we got a lot of rumors over the next week and a half or so. And we're also going to be keeping up with what's going on down on the farm, keeping up today what's going on in the minors because, like I said, over the next week and a half, there are some minor league names that you're going to have to know because they might be on the move, they might be staying, so just a little update on what's going on down in the minors. If you haven't already, make sure you go and follow me on Twitter. My handle is @BlakeHarrisTBLA. It's a must follow if you're a Dodgers fan. If you're a baseball fan, go on and follow as well, but if you're a Dodgers fan, it's definitely a must follow. But before we get started, let's take a look back to see what happened on this date in Dodgers history. So every time I do a show, I think it's going to be a little fun to look back and see if anything, memorable happened on this date in Dodgers history. On July 22nd, nothing too memorable, but 14 years ago today, back in 2005, Yenzi Brazaban, man, that's a name that I have not heard or mentioned in a while, recorded his 18th save of the season when he worked a perfect 9th inning as the Dodgers beat the Mets 6-5. Now for him, he was only a rookie at the time. He was filling in for injured closer Eric Gagne. He broke the record for saves by a Dodgers rookie. So 14 years ago today, Yenzi Brazaban, you made some Dodgers history right there. Not sure where Yenzi is. I think he was only with the Dodgers for a year or maybe 2, then he was just out of the league. So Yenzi Brazaban, wherever you are, hope you're enjoying the day, and let's get into it. All right, the Dodgers are coming off a 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins. Now, sweeping the Marlins, that is no surprise because it's safe to say the Marlins are essentially a minor league team at this point. I have not really paid attention to the Marlins at all this season, and when I saw what their starting lineup was on Friday, I think I was able to name maybe 3 or 4 players in that starting lineup. That team is completely just from what they were a few years ago when they had Yelich, Stanton, Ozuna. They had JT Realmuto, D. Gordon, Justin Bour. They have completely switched things around. That team is, things are tough in Miami, to say the least. So the Dodgers sweep the Marlins, but you look at the scores and you see, they swept them, but Friday and Saturday, those were difficult wins. They picked them up, but it was anything but. At one point, the Marlins, I'm not saying they would have. They easily could have taken 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, but luckily the Dodgers, they're able to hold down the fort. Friday night's game will start off there. They win 2-1, and Hyun-Jin Ryu, to no surprise, picks up his 11th win of the season, moves to 11-2, and his ERA, the fact that his ERA went from 1.78 to 1.76, he continues to throw the ball extremely well. He's got to be the Cy Young favorite at this point. Now, early on, and I remember Joe Davis, Orel Hershiser, or actually Nomar Garciaparra, who were on the call, they were saying the same thing. Hyun-Jin Ryu, by his standards and how the season's been going, he didn't have his best stuff. I think it was the second inning, he walked 2 batters. It was the first time in a season he's walked multiple batters in an inning. For the game, he walked 3 batters, which is very uncharacteristic for him. But, he still finished the game, struck out 7, allowed 4 hits, allowed only 1 run. And luckily for him, the Dodgers were able to pick him up. It looked like it was going to be a quiet day at the plate for the Dodgers offense, but luckily they were able to get 2 in the 6th inning, take the lead, and luckily for Hyun-Jin Ryu, his bullpen was able to get his back. After he was taken out of the game, Kenta Maeda came in to pitch the 8th inning. Now, Dave Roberts said this isn't something that's going to be happening anytime soon. It's just because Kenta Maeda got the start the other day in Philly. The game was in a massive rain delay, so Kenta Maeda had to exit the game. I believe he only threw maybe 2-3 innings that day, so Dave just wanted to get him an extra inning. So Kenta threw the 8th, was absolutely phenomenal, got 2 strikeouts. Now, with Kenta Maeda, I've been saying this for years. I think he's a very serviceable number 5 starter or number 4 starter, usually wherever he is in the starting rotation. He could be a solid number 2, number 3 on majority of teams in the MLB. But I think with Kenta Maeda, his role is best suited in the bullpen. Now, I don't know if there's like proven numbers that he kind of ups it up a notch when he's in the bullpen, but it seems like he pitches with a little extra oomph every time he comes out of the pen. It just seems like he's got a little more on those pitches, and it seems like he's just, like, his intensity. I mean, he is completely in the game. I always like seeing him whenever he gets, like, a strikeout to end an inning, just seeing how pumped up he is. Kenta Maeda, he pitches with a lot of passion out of the bullpen, and we saw this on Friday night. I mean, he looked fantastic. Not sure what exactly the plan for him is going to be heading into October. I know he's going to be the starter the rest of the season, but if it was up to me, I think Kenta Maeda coming out of the bullpen for an inning or two, I think he is fantastic there. Now, speaking of fantastic, Kenley Jansen, my goodness, this was arguably one of his best outings of the season. He struck out the side. He looked unhittable against the Marlins. Now, I know he was getting a lot of scrutiny. Earlier in the week, he blew a save in Philadelphia. Now, granted, some of that could have gone the other way. He had some defensive mishaps behind him. He took that, that liner off his ankle. He later came out and said he should have taken himself out of the game. I'm not going to read too much into that. I thought things kind of went the wrong way. Kenley Jansen, he just pretty much shut down all the naysayers with this outing. I think Kenley Jansen is still our closer. He should still be our closer. Yes, he's not the same he was in the past, but if he's anything like he was this Friday night, I don't think we have anything to worry about. It was a very encouraging outing because if Kenley would have come out with a 1-run lead and he would have allowed the Marlins to tie the game, or if he would have been in like a bases-loaded situation, he would have been facing a lot of criticism, and luckily for him, he doesn't have to worry about it. So another great outing for Kenley Jansen, his 24th save of the season. And that's the crazy part too. It seems like for whatever reason, Kenley Jansen has been having this, really down season. Granted, his ERA is at about 3.5, so I believe that's one of the highest of his career. He's still up, leading almost the National League in saves with 24. I think he's top 2, top 3, so he's still having a very solid season. His velocity is kind of hit or miss, it seems. It seems some games he's throwing like low 90s, but some games he's able to hit like 93, 94, so we'll see what happens with the velocity, but a very encouraging outing from Kenley Jansen Friday night. Switching things over to Saturday night, Clayton Kershaw, another dominant outing from him. Now, I feel really bad that he wasn't able to get the win because, first off, he deserved the win, but somehow, someway, Clayton Kershaw hasn't beaten the Marlins since 2013, and he hasn't beaten them at Dodger Stadium since 2012, so he still has yet to get that win over the Marlins. Maybe later in the season in Miami he can get it done, but 6 innings from him, 10 strikeouts. He allowed only 2 hits. I believe he struck out 7 of the first 9 hitters, so it was looking like he was going to be unhittable all night. So the Marlins somehow were able to get 2 hits off of him, managed to get a walk, but Clayton Kershaw, this was just another dominant outing for him this year, and he continues a solid season where the crazy thing is, just to show you how dominant Clayton Kershaw has been this season, he has a 2.84 ERA, but yet everyone feels like it's a down season for him, it's crazy because, for most pitchers, this is like a top 10, he's like a top pitcher in baseball, but for his standards, it's a down season, but he continues to just be amazing. 10 strikeouts, that was a season high for him, and he did it at the plate as well. He had an RBI single, so an overall great outing from Clayton Kershaw. Now, things almost, and I mean almost, got away from the Dodgers. Now, this would have been a brutal loss. They were winning 6-0 going into the 7th inning. Starlin Castro hit a home run off JT Chargois. They were still winning 6-1 heading into the 8th inning. Nothing too concerning right there. Chargois, I believe he made a batter, and then he was taken out of the game for Caleb Ferguson. Now, Caleb Ferguson, this is an interesting topic for discussion right here. I don't know what's going on with him this season. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal last season. He was only a rookie. He was like 22 years old, and he proved to be one of our better bullpen pieces. And coming into the season, I had a lot of hope for him. I know Dave Roberts had a lot of hope for him. He was planning on using Ferguson as kind of like that long reliever, where he was going to use him 2 to 3 innings, maybe 2 times a week or so. And I had high expectations for Ferguson. And for whatever reason, he has just struggled vitally this year with the Dodgers. I mean, currently at the moment, he has an ERA of 6.65. He was struggling earlier in the year, then they sent him down to AAA. He was great in AAA, came back up, struggled here, was sent back down to AAA, was very good in AAA, and now he's been back up, and I believe he's made 2 outings since he's been back with the club. He was in Philadelphia earlier in the week and Saturday against the Marlins, and he's not looked good. I mean, he failed to get an out. He allowed a hit, allowed a walk, allowed 2 runs to score. So I'm not sure if there's a mechanical issue, if he's dealing with some unknown injury that just he hasn't spoken to Dave about, but Caleb Ferguson is not the pitcher that he was last year, so I don't know what their plans are with him, if they're just going to plan to send him back down to AAA in the coming week, work him as a starting pitcher, continue to work him out of the bullpen. Caleb Ferguson is a very, very interesting player moving forward, and hopefully he can figure it out because I think he's got the stuff to be very good. I mean, we saw last year how great he was out of the pen, so Caleb Ferguson, hopefully things can be figured out sooner rather than later. Yimi Garcia, he allows 2 runs. He's kind of been hit or miss essentially. I know he had a really good stretch earlier in the season, or I believe he technically threw a no-hitter. I think he got 27 or 28 consecutive outs, but since then he's been very shaky as well. Pedro Baez, he came in, he got the job done, but it was essentially, I mean, you talk about the bullpen, they've been, so bad as of late, but it was essentially the defense in this 8th inning that really did it for them. I mean, the Dodgers, Kiki Hernandez got an error, I believe Corey Seager got an error. It was the 7th consecutive game the Dodgers had at least 2 errors, which I believe was the LA Dodgers record for most consecutive games of multiple errors. So the bullpen, I'm not going to give him too much grief for this 8th inning. It was essentially on the defense where Kike turns that double play, they get out of the inning, and they're still winning. But Pedro Baez, I liked what I saw from him. He's had a little shaky outings the last, week or so, but for the most part, he's been such a good reliever for the Dodgers this year, so I'm glad to see that he was able to pick up the win. And going to that bottom of the 8th inning, it's unbelievable. I'm sure all you not really old school Dodger fans, if you've been a Dodgers fan for the last 5 to 10 years, you remember that Andre Ethier, he developed the nickname Captain Clutch because he was arguably the most clutch player on the Dodgers, one of the clutchest players in baseball during his tenure. But I think he may have a run for his money for a new Captain Clutch on the Dodgers because Matt Beaty, my goodness. Now, I don't have the numbers up for me right now, but I remember seeing something like he's hitting nearly 400 with runners in scoring position, in high leverage situations. He hits a 3-run home run. Now, this guy's a rookie, but, I mean, he has the mentality at the plate of a seasoned veteran. You look at him, it's like he's been up for 6-7 years the way he approaches these at-bats. He hits a 3-run home run. I'm not really entirely sure what their plan is with Matt Beaty moving forward because he's kind of in a very tough position where right now with an injury, he's got a spot on the roster. He's starting almost every day. He's got a spot in the outfield where he's most comfortable, where Dave Roberts likes playing him. But once Chris Taylor comes back in a month or so, the Dodgers, he's the kind of bat where they're going to need to work something out where they can continue to get him at bats with the major league team because he has been such a good player. He's been arguably, the biggest surprise this year for the Dodgers, hitting just above 300, has an OPS of nearly 850. He has been a very, very welcoming addition to this team, kind of like the Max Muncy of last year, kind of like the Chris Taylor of a few seasons ago, but what a 3-run home run for him. That was absolutely phenomenal. And Casey Sadler comes in to pitch the 9th inning. Now, Casey Sadler, they picked up, or they traded from the Rays at the beginning of the month. He's already been with the team a few times, kind of been up with the team, sent back down to AAA. He's done well in AAA, and he's done really well so far with us. He has a 1.88 ERA. He's had some really good outings. Now, he has pitched kind of in low leverage situations where he's kind of pitched with a fairly decent sized lead. He pitched with a 4-run lead on Saturday night, and I believe on Sunday he pitched with a 6-7 run lead, something like that. So he's pitching in low leverage situations, but so far I've liked what I've seen from Casey Sadler. Will he be, that much needed bullpen piece moving forward? We'll have to wait and see, but Casey Sadler, I really like what I've seen so far, And moving forward to Sunday now. The Dodgers pick up the 9-0 win. Now, this wasn't like the first two games where they're heading into the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. The game is close. They essentially, put this thing out of way early on. I mean, Max Muncy, Jock Peterson hitting the home runs. A.J. Pollock getting in on the home runs. I'll talk about him in a few minutes. But Walker Buehler, what an outing for him. He's been kind of shaky, ever since that outing at Coors Field where he allowed like 7 runs or so, however many he did. This was a really good bounce back start. I mean, granted, he is pitching against the Marlins, so read into that what you will, but they're still major league hitters. He went 7 innings, struck out 11, didn't walk a single batter, no earned runs. I mean, he was in command all night. It was kind of like Kershaw the night before, where early on it looked like he had no hit stuff. The Marlins were able to muster out some hits against him. But Walker Buehler, one of his better outings of the season, moves to 9-1 on the year. ERA down to 3.23. So, I mean, if you take out that, Coors Field outing, like I said, where he allowed 7 runs in however many innings that was, his ERA on the year would probably be below 3. So, Walker Buehler having another solid season, a really good sophomore campaign, kind of sleeping under the radar, behind Hyun-Jin Ryu, behind all the other pitchers out there. So, Walker Buehler, another solid outing for him. And you know what? He even scored a run on the day as well. So, kind of helped out at the plate as well. So the Dodgers sweep the Marlins, but now what I really want to discuss is A.J. Pollock, because not only this past series against the Marlins was he LA's best hitter, going back to the Philly series and going back to the Boston series, he has absolutely been tearing things up at the plate. He's played 9 games since coming back from the injured list, and he's hit 4 home runs, 12 runs batted in, slashing .406 with an OPS of nearly 1,300. Now, the crazy thing with him is he played in, 28 games before he hit the injured list at the end of April. He had only 2 home runs and 14 RBIs in those 28 games. He's played 1/3 of the games and has already doubled his home runs, already essentially has the same amount of RBIs. And I think he's like 8 or so hits away from, having the same amount of hits that he had before that. So A.J. Pollock has been an absolute pleasant surprise. I mean, this is the kind of, of course the Dodgers weren't expecting him to be hitting, 400, essentially hitting a home run every 2 games, but the Dodgers were expecting a very solid center fielder when healthy. Now, I say when healthy because we know A.J. Pollock over the years has been really unlucky when it comes to injuries. I mean, he's had just some freak injuries. This past injury had another freak injury that put him on the IL for 2 months, but he has been absolutely phenomenal, plays great defense in center field. I know he had some kind of mishaps there in Philadelphia, but it was after the rain delay. I mean, he had some bad hops. I think A.J. Pollock moving forward without a doubt should be our center fielder. I know people have talked about how Verdugo should be in center field, maybe move Pollock to left. No, the Dodgers signed A.J. Pollock to be their center fielder. When healthy, he's one of the better defensive center fielders out there in baseball. And we've seen in the last week, when healthy, what he can do and how it affects the Dodgers. Now, moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see where Dave Roberts wants to hit A.J. Pollock, because I know Dave really loves having Jock as a leadoff hitter, which personally I'm not a fan of. Yes, Jock can hit the home run very frequently, which leading off a game is great, but over the last month and a half, 2 months, Jock's been hitting under 200. With the leadoff hitter, he needs some guy to get on. I think A.J. Pollock fits that void very well. I would love to see A.J. Pollock hitting leadoff moving forward, but this just shows how deep this Dodgers lineup is, where you can be hitting A.J. Pollock 6th, you can be hitting him 7th, you can be hitting him 5th. It doesn't matter. I think A.J. Pollock is fine wherever he hits, as long as he's getting in the starting lineup every day. But with him being healthy and with him swinging the bat so well, this just makes the outfield that much more difficult for Dave Roberts, which I guess is a really good thing to have. It's a good problem to have, but he's going to be a pretty much lock every day to start. Cody Bellinger is going to be a lock every day to start. So that leaves left field open essentially to be decided between Jock Peterson, Alex Verdugo, and Matt Beaty. I mean, those are 3 guys that you can make the case deserve to be starting every day. I think Alex Verdugo deserves the edge over everyone just because he's been the better overall hitter on the season. Matt Beaty, I mentioned it, a few minutes ago, he's been fantastic. You need to try to find him playing time as well. You don't want him sitting on the bench. And Jock Peterson, I mean, aside from really Cody Bellinger and Max Muncy, he's the biggest home run threat. So anytime you can get a guy at the plate that can hit a home run at any given time, aside from facing a left-hander, this is a guy that you need to line up every day. So A.J. Pollock, it's a good predicament for Dave Roberts to be in, but it'll be interesting to see how he works it out. But A.J. Pollock, I'm super excited to see that he's back. He looks healthy. Hopefully he can stay healthy the rest of the season, because we really need him. If I'm Dave Roberts, you have a 14, 15 game lead. I would kind of go easy on Pollock, maybe rest him one game a series, maybe one game every 4 to 5 games. Make sure he stays healthy because they have plenty of depth to keep him going. This is a guy that you absolutely need come October, so hopefully they can manage that well, and AJ Pollock can pretty much avoid any of those freak injuries that he's had in the past. So moving on now, we're going to talk some injury news. Nothing really too new, nothing really that's kind of come out in the last few days. Rich Hill, he was placed on the IL over a month ago with a left forearm strain. Now, some good news, he picked up a baseball, I believe, last week, so he's going according to plan. When he went on the IL a month ago, Dave Roberts said it was going to take about 4 weeks for him to pick up a baseball again, so the good news is Rich Hill looks like he's currently on track to come back. He resumed throwing activities. I think he's going to do that this week or in the next week. Now, Dave Roberts said that he expects him back early to mid-September if all goes right. Now, I expect everything to go right. I don't think there's going to be any setbacks. But this brings up an interesting question with Rich Hill and how the Dodgers should handle him. As I just mentioned, they have like a 15-game lead, so the division's already clinched. So I think that they need to be extremely cautious with Rich Hill moving forward. He was having a great season before the injury, had an ERA that was one of the lowest of his career. There's absolutely no reason to rush him back. No reason to rush him back. If he doesn't come back until mid-September, that's okay. If he doesn't come back until the final week of the season, that's okay. Make sure he's 100% healthy because in October, he's going to be extremely valuable. Now, I've been seeing a bunch of people starting to discuss this on Twitter, and I'm kind of interested with it as well. The Dodgers obviously have 3 very, very solid starters in Kershaw, Ryu, and Buehler for the postseason. Now, once October comes around, usually you lose the 5-man rotation, you go to 4. Now, with Rich Hill, of course, I think him being one of the 4 starters is going to happen, but with Rich Hill, I would not be opposed to all of a sudden moving him to the bullpen and using him for 1 to 2 innings, every other game or so. Now, of course, this could just be some rumors I'm seeing on Twitter, what people are saying. Who knows how much truth there is to that, but I think Rich Hill out of the bullpen would be a solid move. You got to be very careful with him. This has been a very weird, injury with what he got. Luckily, he doesn't need surgery. He doesn't, need to miss the rest of the season. I would like to see Rich Hill out of the bullpen. I think that'd be great for him. I think 2 innings, he'd be able to dial it up a bit. But like I said, that's depending on what the Dodgers plan on doing. Like I said, I got no problem with him being the 4th starter. But maybe, the NLDS, the Dodgers only want to do a 3-man rotation as opposed to a 4-man rotation. Maybe they want to have Kenta Maeda be one of the starters. They can also go with Ross Stripling. They can go with Julio Urias. There's plenty of options right there the Dodgers can have for their 4th starter. So it's just a matter of how cautious they want to be with Rich Hill and, what they expect of him and what they plan on doing with him. So that's just something to keep an eye on with Rich Hill, but expected to come back in September, another month away. So however long it takes, that's fine with me. We're going to be fine without him. As long as he comes back healthy, that's what's most important. Scott Alexander, now this is a strange injury. Now he was placed on the IL back on June 11th. He's already been out for a month and a half or so, essentially, with left forearm inflammation. His arm's currently in a brace. Now, Dave Roberts said that no surgery is going to be needed. He's going to be expected back sometime in the future, so he's not going to be out for the season. But Scott Alexander, he's having kind of a rough last month and a half or so before he was hurt. I'm not really sure what's going on with him. I don't know what the timetable is on this. When Dave Roberts says expected back in the future, I don't know if that means he's expected back sometime in August, sometime in September, if he's back in October. So that's something to keep an eye on. But Scott Alexander, hopefully whatever this is, he can get it fixed soon and return to form when needed in October. Let's go to the latest injury news with Dylan Floro. He was placed on the IL back on July 19th with neck inflammation, so he was just placed a few days ago. That kind of just came out of nowhere as well because I was following along on Twitter, and Bill Plunkett, who covers the Dodgers for the OC Register, he tweeted out the day before that he asked Dave Roberts if anything was wrong with Dylan Floro, and Roberts said no, nothing's wrong. He's not going to be placed on the IL, just giving him some rest. And the next day it comes out that Floro is going to be on the IL with neck inflammation, so not exactly sure what's going on there, if that's, a serious injury, but it's only the 10-day IL. I guess we'll see in a week if he comes back. Floro, like every member of the Dodgers bullpen, has been struggling vitally as well, so however long Floro needs, that's fine. I'm sure the Dodgers will work their magic. They'll do something to fill his void while he's gone, but yeah, Floro, that was kind of another random injury as well. Alright, it's time to go down onto the farm, seeing what's going on in the minor league system. Now, the biggest piece of minor league news that came out yesterday, no one was traded. as of yet. But Keibert Ruiz, who was the Dodgers' number one prospect, coming into the season, I believe, he was promoted from Tulsa to Oklahoma City. Now, recently he dropped in the Dodgers prospect rankings. He used to be number 1. He's now number 3, according to Baseball America. He dropped from the number 31 overall prospect to the number 52 overall prospect in baseball. The Dodgers have quite an interesting tangent with him and Will Smith. Obviously, Ruiz is the switch hitter. He just turned 21, so he's younger than me, for crying out loud. So he's still a very young prospect. But he made a very, very, very welcoming debut in Oklahoma City. He went 2 for 4, hit a home run, drove in 4 runs. So Keibert Ruiz, this is a name to keep an eye on over the next week and a half, because I'm sure his name is going to come up in trade rumors. Maybe he's dealt, maybe he's not, maybe it's Will Smith that's dealt. We're going to have to wait and see, but he's in AAA right now, which is very exciting to see. Man, that Oklahoma City Dodgers team, man, I'm going to get to some of these names in a bit. That has got to be one of the most exciting minor league teams in baseball right now, because, you talk about Keibert Ruiz, where he was kind of, I guess, not really struggling in Double-A, but he was hitting .254, one of the lowest averages of his minor league career. So people were starting to worry that he was struggling. 2 for 4 in Oklahoma City, a very good debut. So hopefully he can start to turn things around at the plate there in Oklahoma City. Gavin Lux, I'm sure this is a name that you've been hearing a lot of. He had another 2 hits yesterday, which lowered his batting average, I believe, to .487. So the fact that you have 2 hits and it lowers your batting average, he's sitting .487. He has been unbelievable. I mean, there's no words to describe him. He's quickly shot up, the farm system. He's, I believe, our number 1 prospect now. I think he's like number 11, number 12 overall in baseball. Another name you're going to be hearing a lot of in the next week and a half. The Dodgers going to be talking trades. Maybe he's moved, maybe he's not. He's the one player. I'm not going to be getting too deep into like rumors and everything today, but in my opinion, he's the one player in the farm system I believe is absolutely untouchable. I mean, he potentially can fill that second base void. He's played a lot of shortstop, but I believe the Dodgers made him play second base the other day, so if eventually he can come up in September, fill that second base void, that would be absolutely fantastic. But what we've seen from him so far in the minors, he has been one of the best hitters across the entire minor league system, and if I'm the Dodgers, I try to hold on to him. Whatever, I don't think he's worth trading for a reliever. I think this is a guy you need to give him a time. Let him see what he can do in the major leagues. I don't think he's going to be getting called up anytime soon. I think he might be a September call-up, so they're going to allow him to keep getting at-bats, in Oklahoma City. But this is a guy where I think that he can be a future stud. I think he could be our future second base, because, rotating Muncy, rotating Kike, rotating Chris Taylor, I don't think those are the answers. I think Gavin Lux potentially could be the answer. He's had a problem with his arm in the past. Put him at second, I think he'll be fine. So Gavin Lux at .487, he has been absolutely fantastic. Now, DJ Peters, this is definitely a name to keep an eye on. I mean, he's been kind of shooting up the Dodgers farm system as well. Everyone knows that he is arguably, I think you can make the case, he's the best power hitter in the Dodgers farm system. I mean, the way he hits home runs, he had a home run the other day in Oklahoma City. They went off the hotel in left field. So this guy's got extreme power. In Oklahoma City, he's gotten his strikeout down rate a lot, which has been good, because coming up the minors, that's been his, I guess, number 1 critique, is that he strikes out a lot. He's still striking out a good amount, but his strikeout numbers are down, which is good. The only problem with DJ Peters is, there's no room for him in this Dodgers outfield. Now, I'm not sure if the Dodgers can potentially put him at first base, but with Muncy, I don't know if that's going to work in the future. This is a guy I can see being moved in the next week and a half. He's definitely an interesting name to keep your eye on. Extraordinary power. I mean, watching his home runs is phenomenal. I don't know if he's participated like in a home run derby in the minors, but I feel like he'd be a great fit there. So DJ Peters, he's been doing really well in Oklahoma City. Definitely another name to keep an eye on. Now, a name that I really want to talk about, who's been one of my favorites, keeping track of the last month or so, has been Josiah Gray. Now, Josiah Gray has essentially been playing with Rancho Cucamonga all this season, recently promoted to Double-A Tulsa about a week or two ago. He was acquired in the Yasiel Puig trade, and I don't know what his rank is right now, but in a year from now, I could easily see Gray being a top 6, top 7 prospect in our system. I mean, this season, he has been absolutely one of our better pitching prospects. In 18 games between Great Lakes, Rancho, and Tulsa, he's 8-1 with a 2.25 ERA. This past week, he pitched in Tulsa for the first time, allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. An okay start. I mean, that's nothing, too special, but he has been lighting things up all season in the minors. Definitely a name to keep an eye on. And who would have thought, when we traded Puig, it seemed like, we were just getting 2 prospects that were just being thrown in just because we needed some prospects. But Josiah Gray and Jeter Downs as well. I mean, I don't have Jeter Downs' numbers in front of me, but he has been tearing things up with the Rancho Cucamonga as well. He just hit his 2nd Grand Slam of the season, I believe yesterday or Friday night or Saturday night, whenever it was. So he's been tearing things up at the plate as well. So those 2 prospects, definitely top 10 guys moving forward into next season. Exciting times ahead, but Josiah Gray, definitely a name to start keeping an eye on moving forward in the Dodger system. Maybe he's a name that might be moved in the next week and a half for an arm. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. And finally, some more minor league news. Both Dodger first-round picks, Michael Busch and Cody Hosey, have been promoted to the Great Lake Loons. They spent the first few weeks or so in the Arizona League. Now they're with the Loons, so after that they're probably going to move to Rancho. And I don't know if we'll see him in Rancho this season, definitely by next season. And yeah, so that's exciting news to see right there. Both, as I mentioned, first-round picks, some exciting bats, some of the better bats from the 2019 MLB draft. So if you want to keep an eye on them, definitely take a look at the Great Lakes Loons. Some really good names there as well, like Jacob Amaya. Some other ones to keep an eye on as well. But that wraps it up for this first episode of Thinkin' Blue. If you've gotten to this point, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you have any questions you'd like to have answered on my next show, leave a comment below and I'll answer them in the next podcast. I want to start doing like a Q&A segment. I tweeted out the other day saying if you have any questions, submit them, but they're all kind of essentially questions that I was talking about on this show about like Kenley, AJ Pollock, our farm system, so nothing really there. But if you have a question, leave a comment on this video, and in the next one I'll answer whatever questions there are. On the next episode, I'll talk more about the upcoming Angels series, as well as the latest rumors that the Dodgers have been involved in, all the relief pitchers that they've been involved with as well. I'll also be at the stadium tomorrow for the unveiling of the 2020 All-Star Game logo and all the new announcements of the brand new stadium renovations that they plan on doing leading up to the All-Star Game next season, so that's going to be some exciting stuff. I'm not exactly sure what they're planning on doing, but it's going to be exciting stuff, so make sure to follow me on Twitter so you don't miss any of those. I'll probably also film it, and I'll post it on this channel as well, so you can see the full press conference for whatever it is that they got. Again, my Twitter is at Blake Harris TBLA. I'll put a link for that in the description as well. Make sure to give me a follow, as I mentioned, some really good Dodgers content, so if you're a Dodgers fan, definitely a must follow. Thank you again for listening. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. It will really help out the channel grow and moving forward. This has been Blake Harris, and I will see you guys in the next show.